Hello friends, a very good day to you. Today we shall be talking about Balban. Alright. Now Balban, among the Delhi Sultans, he is one of the most important sultans. His reign falls under the Ilbari dynasty. That you have to understand, that his reign falls under the Ilbari dynasty. And Balban himself was a part of the Turkish nobility. Alright. Which has also been referred to as the Chahalgani. Alright, or the Chalisa. Now, these were a group of nobles who were very important towards the administration of the Sultanate period empire, and these nobles used to monopolize the power positions in the Sultanate period empire. Okay, and Balban himself was one of the important members of the Turkish Chahalgani. He was one of the important members of the Turkish nobility, and it was his position as an important member of this nobility which helped him to usurp power from Nasruddin Mahmud. Alright. So, he usurped power from the Sultan Nasruddin Mahmud. In fact, he followed certain diplomatic tactics and certain diplomatic arrangements were made before he could become the Sultan, alright, before he could succeed Nasruddin Mahmud and his progeny as the Sultan of Delhi, alright. And what he did actually was that he was able to become the Naib or the Naib Malik, alright, or the Deputy Malik. The Naib term, Naib stands for deputy, alright. So, if you are a Naib Malik, that means you are a Naib Sultan, alright, you are a Deputy Sultan, you are a Regent, R-E-A-G-E-N-T, Regent. The term regent refers to a person who rules in the name of the Sultan, alright. So, Balban already had become the Naib Malik and he was already acting as a regent, and he could become the regent by, you see, creating a tie between himself and the Sultan. You see, he married away his daughter to the Sultan, and by doing so, he also usurped the power of the Naib Malik, alright. He became the Naib Malik. But the Sultan himself was not very happy with Balban's administration and Balban's growing power. So, the Sultan, he tried to shift Balban away from the capital into his into his Iqta, Balban's own Iqta. But Balban again came back and then he established himself as the Sultan of Delhi. Now, Balban's rule is important because it also amplifies or it signifies the centralizing tendencies, alright, the centralizing tendencies within the Delhi Sultanate, alright. Now, what are those centralizing tendencies? From centralizing tendencies, we understand that between the nobility and the Sultan of the Delhi Sultanate, there has been an ongoing tussle for power. The nobilities who wanted fragmentation of the empire, okay, who wanted decentralization of power within the empire so that they could hold their own Iqtas and they could govern their own Iqtas, you see, independently. However, the Sultan wanted to exert more power, alright, over his nobility and try to maintain a centralized structure of power within the Sultanate, Delhi Sultanate. And Balban's rule itself is a signifier of this centralizing tendency, the Sultan asserting his authority over his nobility. And therefore, within Balban's rule, what we will observe is that Balban did not give much heed to expansion, okay. So, we can assert that expansion was not one of the goals of Balban, but in fact what Balban was actually trying to do was consolidate his empire, alright. How does he consolidate? He wanted to consolidate it by asserting the centralizing tendencies of the Delhi Sultanate, and in fact Balban did so by, you see, certain symbolic manners, alright. Balban, he did so by a good amalgamation of both the symbolic and also both practical. You see, symbolic and practical methods were used in order to subvert the powers of the nobility. One of the important steps that was taken by Balban was by giving a theory of kingship, alright. Now, in his theory of kingship, what Balban, you see, firstly what he asserts is that a king might only come from, you see, a noble lineage. A king would have to have noble blood in his veins and then only he could become a king. No commoner could, you see, attain the title of a king, alright. And even you see, after that, going forward, what Balban says is that a king is a regent of God, all right. He is only below the prophet in importance and in sanctity. Therefore, the king and his authority cannot be violated. An Islamic king is just below the prophets, all right, and his authority is right below the prophet, and nobody can, you see, subvert the authority of the king in an Islamic state, all right. And therefore, the Sultan himself is the vice regent of God. He also adopted the title of Zil-e-Ilahi. Zil-e-Ilahi, the title itself means the shadow of God, and therefore Balban himself considered, you see, himself to be the shadow of God on earth. Okay, a very high title to appropriate, and he appropriated this title for the first time in the history of the Indian Muslim kingdoms, all right. So Balban adopted the title of Zil-e-Ilahi, and he proclaimed himself to be the shadow of God on earth, and therefore it was a very high title, and therefore by doing so he wanted to raise himself to a greater position than his fellow nobles. He himself came from the nobility, and now he wanted to assume a position which is greater than the nobility, and thereby he wanted to control the nobility by exerting his greater powers, all right. He also introduced certain very important, you say, court traditions such as sajda. Sajda, which is a common word which we can hear today in Hindi songs, sajda actually means prostration. So once you go in order to meet the emperor, that means you have to prostrate yourself in front of the emperor and then salute him. You have to fall down on your knees and you have to salute him, all right. So every noble who has come from his own ikta to meet the emperor, they would first have to prostrate himself before the emperor and then meet him, okay. And on top of that, he also introduced the paibos. What is paibos? Paibos means, you see, going up to the sultan and then kissing the sultan's feet, all right. And these are done in order to exert upon the nobility the feeling of, you see, terror, and also it is done in order to exert the idea that the nobility does not mean anything, or the nobility does not have any power in front of the sultan. So these are some of the symbolic ways in which Balban tried to assert his own powers over his nobility, all right. Sajda and paibos. On top of that, very cruel punishments were also meted out to the nobility, those people of the nobility who tried to rebel against Balban, all right. Although the later part of Balban's life is marred by the you see, by the rebellion of his own noble or of his own slave Tughril, all right. Tughril was Balban's own slave, and he was made the governor of Bengal, and Tughril rebelled, and this was one of the incidents which had actually, you see, which had actually troubled Balban for the later part of his life, and in fact he spent a lot of resources in his hunting down of Tughril and then punishing him, all right, punishing Tughril. Tughril, who was Balban's slave and later on went on to become the governor of Bengal and who had rebelled against Balban, all right. Apart from these, what you have to know about Balban is also the fact that it was during Balban's time that another Mongol attack happened on Delhi, all right. And this Mongol attack was met by Balban's son Muhammad. And in this attack, all right, in this attack of the Mongols, Muhammad, who went out to defend the Sultanate against the Mongols, was actually killed, and this, it says, you see, prompted the decline of Balban, all right. The killing of Muhammad, it prompted the decline of Balban's power, because Balban, although he continued dispensing his authority in the same like manner which he used to do before, but he was heartbroken after the death of his eldest son. So before he died, Balban actually nominated Kai Khusro. But what happened was that the very important Malik, or very important Turkish noble, who was also the Kotwal of Delhi, Fakhruddin, he instead placed Kaikubad as a new ruler of Delhi, and Kaikubad himself fell into paralysis, and he was later on overthrown by the Khalji Maliks, bringing in the Khalji dynasty, all right. So Balban's rule, it signifies, as you know, the centralizing tendencies within the Delhi Sultanate Empire, and later on these tendencies will get new heights or attain new heights during the reign of Alauddin Khalji, and also they would develop into a centralized administration during the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and then all of these will be reversed by Firoz Shah Tughlaq, which will lead to the decline of the Delhi Sultanate. So with that, I hope that Balban's chapter is quite intelligible to you right now, and I hope that you will be studying hard. Thank you.